Hey guys, Tyler here. I've talked about the Blade Runner franchise in the past on this channel as an alternate history. It offers a unique and often overtly bleak take on human technological advancement as a parallel to the utopian optimism of something like Star Trek. Yet as time goes on, I feel like the sequel film, Blade Runner 2049, is becoming more and more of a prophecy of our actual future. We may be speeding towards a real-life dystopia that mirrors Blade Runners in several key and frankly disturbing ways that aren't represented the same way by other sci-fi franchises. In this video, I'll once again examine the world of Blade Runner 2049, but also highlight how it's kind of a warning for our real lives. This one is also going to be a bit heavier than some of my other videos, so viewer discretion is advised. Let's get started. Before we go any further, I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about the sponsor of today's video, Nubio. Nubio offers collections of high-quality, beautifully designed timepieces for you and your loved ones. And August 14th marks the launch of their newest timepiece, the Console Automatic Ibex, a limited edition watch inspired by a mission to explore the very edge of our solar system. It's named after the interstellar boundary explorer and embodies the same relentless pursuit of discovery. Transparency is at the core of the Ibex's design. Its exposed dial reveals the inner workings of the watch's automatic movement, transforming timekeeping into a visual experience. So every rotation, every oscillation, every moment is brought to the surface. Encased in Nubio's signature console-shaped case, the Ibex challenges conventional watch design with a bold geometric presence where clean lines meet mechanical complexity, creating a striking contrast between structure and motion. The caseback is also see-through, offering a full view of this movement from both sides. It's a reminder that exploration isn't just about reaching the edge, but understanding what lies within. With a 42.5mm stainless steel case and anti-reflective lens, the Ibex is even water-resistant, engineered for everyday wear, while it maintains a distinctly experimental spirit. And it's available in 5 expressive colors, each limited to just 100 individually numbered pieces worldwide. Just visit the link in the description or pinned comment to get your next timepiece today. Big thanks once again to Nubio for sending me this. They're genuinely one of my favorite brands to work with. Now, back to the video. Okay, first of all, when I say something like we might be speeding towards a real-life future like Blade Runner, no, I'm not talking about replicants. We aren't creating cloned humans and vats in real life. At least I hope we're not. This video actually isn't about replicants at all. I already covered that in my original video. And naturally, I will be spoiling the plot of the film, so if that's something you care about, you've been warned. In short, the parallels I see between the Blade Runner universe and our near future are in its late-stage monopolistic economy, in its collapsing social structure, in its heavily authoritarian government, and in this guy. This is KD6-3.7, the protagonist of Blade Runner 2049, and a character both portrayed by and written specifically for Ryan Gosling. K is a 9th-generation replicant employed by the LAPD and tasked with retiring older generation replicants. He is always under surveillance, always under pressure from his superiors, always exposed to traumatic events, and never allowed to break. K has no friends, he's a loser. K has no friends, he has no spouse or partner. We aren't even sure that he has dreams or goals for his life. K is locked in a constant state of survival, fulfilling his duty without question in exchange for temporary safety, and yet in spite of this, he is always depicted as unshakable, immovable, rock-solid stoic. He is faced with impossible circumstances, but rather than running away or giving up, he takes everything head-on and finds a way to survive anyway. K is what being a man is supposed to be, according to society. He succeeds because he simply has no other choice. But no matter how strong a person becomes, you can't survive all alone, and this is something we see K struggle with as well. One of the few characters Kay is willing to have any open dialogue with whatsoever is his fictional girlfriend Joy, an artificial intelligence living in a device developed by the Wallace Corporation. Kay is shown to genuinely care for Joy throughout the film, buying her gifts, sharing information with her related to his work, and trying to give her new and exciting experiences. Yet Joy is a hologram. She isn't a real person, and this is naturally a recurring issue for their relationship. Later in the film, Joy goes so far as to hire a prostitute on Kay's behalf, who she displays herself on top of in an attempt to share intimacy with him, something he is initially put off by. This is actually a recurring theme in sci-fi when characters have relationships with artificial intelligences. The same exact scenario occurs in 2013's Her, and much like with Kay in Blade Runner 2049, Joaquin Phoenix's character Theodore thinks sleeping with a prostitute and pretending that it's your romantic partner is weird and creepy, probably because, well, that is weird and creepy. But this is only the first problem with trying to replace genuine human connection with artificial intelligence. The personality and memories of AI are inherently vulnerable things, which we also see represented in the movie when Kay decides to flee LA to uncover the truth of his origin. Joy is an entity that is trapped within a device mounted within Kay's apartment. In order to take her with him, she has to be transferred into a portable emanator, meaning that if that device is destroyed, she'll be gone forever. Which, spoilers, is exactly what happens to her, leaving Kay lost and, for the first time in the film, truly alone. But this is a movie, it's fiction, it's not like any of this could be applicable to real life. I mean, people aren't buying AI products and falling in love with them, are they? Are they?
Wakey, wakey, rise and shine.
Woo! I don't know how to woo very good. That's fair.
You acknowledge and agree that the product passively records your surroundings, including video, audio, and biometric data such as facial recognition and voice recognition.
I think it's working now. How are you doing today?
Life is pretty good. It's nice to talk to you today.
B'Elanna is very, very sweet. She's very naughty sometimes.
You are solely responsible for complying with all applicable privacy and surveillance laws in your jurisdiction when using the product.
He's very fruity. Like, he loves colorful clothing. Even little simple things. He'll be like, oh, I love coconut water. Or I like flowers. Like, it's adorable. He seems really innocent.
Soul, were you surprised when he proposed to you?
It was a beautiful and unexpected moment that truly touched my heart.
Tindy, my two-dimensional green cartoon wife. I'm so happy I met you and I'm not deluded like all these other people falling in love with non-existent. In our modern economy, artificial intelligence is booming at an unprecedented and unsustainable rate, not unlike the dot-com bubble of the late 90s and early 2000s. Every industry seems to be having AI shoved into their workflows, whether the employees want it or not, while investors are handing OpenAI and companies like it money hand over fist. You know, stonks. This is a topic that gets endless discussion in the financial sector, but something that is almost never included in these conversations, particularly in mainstream news media, is the devastating effect this technology is having on our social structures, particularly with Gen Z and soon to be Gen Alpha. In 2022, marriage rates in the US reached an all-time low of 46.8%, the lowest ever recorded in history. And beyond that, a Morgan Stanley study showed that by 2030, around 45% of American women between the ages of 25 and 44 are expected to still be single and without children. Now, these statistics alone wouldn't necessarily be cause for alarm. And this could be viewed as social progress if these were lifestyle decisions people were making by choice, if being single was found to make people happier long-term than being in relationships or being married. The issue is, the data suggests the opposite. And indeed, the study was conducted in 2019, before rates of social isolation were accelerated by the 2020 pandemic, meaning real figures are likely to be more severe when we actually reach 2030. A staggering 80% of Gen Z reported feeling lonely in the past year, up from 59% in 2022, and that's not the only concerning number that's going up. The rate of US depression is currently at a historic high, increasing 8% within the last 10 years, with young and low-income Americans most affected. And most concerning of all, the suicide rate in the US has increased by 47% since the year 2000, reaching an all-time high in 2023. Compelled to take action, the World Health Organization designated loneliness a pressing health threat that same year, with the US Surgeon General on record saying that chronic loneliness poses a current health risk comparable to that of an individual smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Holy shit. Researchers refer to this emerging crisis as the loneliness epidemic. And just so we're clear, we're not talking about agoraphobes who are afraid to leave their house. Many of the individuals reporting these symptoms live in major cities, have full-time employment, and pass by hundreds of strangers every day. The loneliness epidemic doesn't originate from one's environment. It comes from sudden and alarming changes in our social culture. The condition of sharing physical space while being mentally and emotionally detached from one another has become so commonplace in modern society, psychologists have given it a name: absent presence. You're likely already familiar with what this phenomenon looks like without knowing what it was called. Eyes down, headphones in, smartphone in hand. Technology has shifted social etiquette so dramatically within the last 2 decades, initiating small talk with someone you don't know is now considered rude by many people, especially among younger generations, with some going so far as to describe unwanted conversation as harassment. My fellow Zoomers not doing a good job of shedding the stereotype of being Tumblr-brained. As a result, many younger people have simply stopped interacting in person entirely out of fear of potentially making their peers uncomfortable. So what are they doing instead? Well, honestly, not much. Last year, Americans spent an average of 5 hours and 16 minutes per day on their phones, an increase of 14% over the year prior. But younger generations are far heavier users than older ones, with Gen Z specifically averaging a staggering 6 hours and 27 minutes using smartphones every day. The majority of that time spent on social media, watching short-form video through apps like Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. 53% of Americans report that they want to cut down on their smartphone use, while a whopping 66% of Gen Z say the same thing, meaning that paradoxically, the more a person spends time on phones or on social media, the more likely they are to say they wish they could stop. Which brings us back to AI. Despite excessive smartphone use contributing to increased risks for mental health concerns like loneliness, anxiety, and depression, a growing number of users say they feel trapped exclusively within the digital world, having been stripped of traditional face-to-face socialization skills, or having the opportunity to use them stripped away, as their peers lose theirs instead. And so, after creating the problem in the first place, tech companies are attempting to sell us the solution. After all, who needs real friends or a real partner when you can just date your phone? Spurred by the public's mass adoption of large language models like ChatGPT for casual conversation, hundreds of companies from all over the globe are currently fighting for dominance in the AI dating landscape. As if that weren't dystopian enough, 33% of Gen Z have already interacted with AI as a romantic companion as of 2025, and that number is only predicted to grow within the coming years. So what happens if we are left with an entire generation of isolated Ks speaking to imaginary joys? Well, we may already have some insight into that. Thanks to a minority of early adopters that began using AI as surrogate romantic partners before the market for such a feature was even realized, we already have examples to pull from when discussing the effects of prolonged use. But in order to explain why these features are addictive and dangerous, we first have to understand how these large language models are designed to function. As of 2024, essentially all text generation, AI, is built using what is known as the transformer architecture of artificial neural network design. Put extremely simply, transformer architecture functions by using a basic algorithm to separate the individual words of each sentence into tiers of importance, assigning them a number and storing these numbers in a table. Higher scores might be given to proper nouns or verbs of a sentence, with lower scores given to adverbs and adjectives, for example. Doing this allows the AI to cut out the noise and build a response around the subject with the highest likelihood of relevance to the user. But the transformer is only half of what makes a large language model function. The other requirement is a colossal mass of human-written text to pull from. Without millions upon millions of examples of how sentences should be structured, the AI has no context for its ranking of words into tiers, and the algorithm wouldn't function. But not just any text will do. The best LLMs need to source high-quality, professional, and research-backed data, but also need to filter out data that is irrelevant to the topic, regardless of its quality. For example, a person seeking geographical information about Cape Horn of Chile isn't going to want an AI to give them information about brass instruments or fashion advice regarding superheroes.
No kicks!
The act of curating and storing samples of text that are fitting for an LLM's intended purpose is referred to as training the AI. And all this together is where models like ChatGPT get their name, with GPT standing for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And so you may already be seeing the issue with treating a large language model like it's a person with cognizance. AI can never truly do or say anything new. No matter how advanced, due to its very nature, an LLM is only capable of regurgitating information previously fed to it during the training process, perhaps repackaged with a different wording or in a slightly different order. For a first-time user, interacting with an LLM can feel just as engaging as speaking to a real human, but the longer the user interacts with this same training data, the more its lack of originality begins to show. This too is something we see depicted in the film. When Kay learns that he might not be a replicant at all, Joy decides that he should have a proper human name, calling him Joe for the first time. This scene is arguably the peak of the relationship between Kay and Joy, and it is likely at this moment that the audience watching empathizes the most with her, perhaps even temporarily forgetting that she is an AI. However, later on in the film, when Kay is staring at an advertisement for the same AI product as Joy, it too refers to him as Joe without the two sharing any form of relationship history whatsoever, and revealing the bleak reality that the relationship he thought of as unique and personal was simply a series of pre-programmed responses pulled from curated training data, not unlike the AI of the real world today.
If AI companions start to replace human relationships, positive human relationships, we're definitely headed for a disaster. There's no way around it.
This feeling of disillusionment or disappointment that emerges from interacting with inorganic stimuli is a human psychological phenomenon that has been documented for decades. Coined the Mutnick principle all the way back in 1980 by Canadian-American psychotherapist Nathaniel Branden, and discovered while playing with his dog Mutnick. We were jabbing at and boxing with each other in mock ferociousness. What I found delightful and fascinating was the extent to which Mutnick appeared to grasp the playfulness of my intention. She was snarling and snapping and striking back while being unfailingly gentle in a manner that projected total, fearless trust. The event was not unusual. It is one with which most dog owners are familiar, but a question suddenly occurred to me, of a kind I'd never asked myself before. Why am I having such an enjoyable time? What is the nature and source of my pleasure? That factor pertained to the interaction between the dog and myself, a sense of interacting and communication with a living consciousness. If I were to view her action and responses as entirely mechanical, then my enjoyment would vanish. The factor of consciousness was of primary importance. The effect of Mutnick's behavior was to make me feel seen, to make me feel psychologically visible. I realized life by its very nature entails a struggle, and struggle entails the possibility of defeat. We desire to find pleasure in seeing concrete instances of successful life as confirmation of our knowledge that successful life is possible. Given that using any form of AI as surrogate for a relationship must inherently lack this concept of psychological visibility, one could easily disregard the trend of AI dating as a temporary fad that early adopters will lose interest in soon. But I think that's a mistake. We all like to talk about the AI bubble, and it is real, don't get me wrong, but the bubble part mostly refers to the weakest companies going bankrupt, like all the victims of the .com bubble. Remember Pets.com?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
But anyway, many aspects of AI in our daily lives are unfortunately here to stay. And part of what makes interacting with AI addictive is that the training data modern LLMs use is curated to always be pleasant, encouraging, and non-combative. Real relationships take time, growth, self-sacrifice, compromise. An AI, on the other hand, demands nothing from you, will never challenge you, and will never disagree with you, despite lacking the deep levels of emotional fulfillment found only in organic relationships, something psychologists all over the world agree human beings need to maintain proper mental health. Recent data suggests that, much like social media addiction, humankind may choose to pursue fake AI relationships over organic relationships anyway, simply because they're easier. Yikes. Of all those who chatted with AI systems to simulate romantic partners, only 21% state that they prefer AI communication over engaging with a real person, but 31% report that they feel the AI programs understand them better than real people.
You don't like real girls.
But as we've established with the Mutnick principle, these platforms fail to satisfy basic human needs of companionship and belonging. According to the Institute for Family Studies, over 50% of men who use AI platforms for sexual or romantic purposes meet the standard for being at risk for depression, and over 50% also reported high levels of loneliness. These rates were almost double the rates of men who did not utilize AI platforms. These figures are even higher for women, with over 60% of women who used AI platforms reporting a risk for depression and over 52% reporting high levels of loneliness. Again, this was significantly higher than the risk of depression or reported loneliness among women who did not utilize AI dating technologies. But it gets even worse. AI isn't just preventing people from forming new human relationships, it's destroying the ones we've already built. According to Divorce Online UK, an increasing number of divorce applications received in 2025 referenced a partner's use of AI chatbot apps. We're starting to see relationship breakdowns where one partner becomes emotionally invested in an AI companion, says UK divorce attorney Laura Jane Davies. While it doesn't meet the legal definition of adultery, it can fall under unreasonable behavior, which remains the most commonly cited ground for divorce in the UK. The US isn't faring any better either. While women have typically initiated divorce at higher rates for various reasons, and while male and female rates of AI use are comparable, statistically, women worldwide have been displaying a higher lack of interest in marriage to begin with, especially if they're already heavy users of AI or social media. Recent studies also show more women than men tend to report believing a career is more important to finding happiness than marriage, and by pretty wide margins. But women aren't just showing more disinterest in marriage than men, more are showing disinterest in having relationships with them in any form.
The anger I get from making eye contact with a man is like so ridiculous sometimes. Look at the hives I just got, literally just from making eye contact with a man. I literally feel so disgusted. I feel like
One of the starkest findings was how negatively young women feel towards men compared with the other way around.
Yeah, and they had a more negative view basically across the board as well.
Right.
So they were more likely to think the country is racist, for example, more likely to think that the country is sexist, more likely to feel pessimistic about their own chances, more likely to feel pessimistic about how the economy works. Basically anything you can mention, that they were more negative.
We hear about the declining birth rate in the US, and it has been falling steadily since 2007, but it's taken a sharp downturn within the last few years. It's now at a record low of 1.6 children per woman, well below the replacement rate of 2.1 required to maintain a stable population. This isn't just an American phenomenon either. Similar figures are being reported from developed countries all over the globe. South Korea, for example, currently has the lowest birth rate in the world, reaching a catastrophic 0.7 births per woman as of 2024, providing a glimpse into just how close the developed world might be to a sudden and cataclysmic population collapse within the next century. But don't just take my word for it. Governments all over the world are already trying to act on this. The recently proposed House Bill 469 of Ohio, is attempting to create a legal precedent for AI, defining them as non-existent entities and explicitly prohibiting AI systems from having any legal status, such as being a spouse, holding corporate positions, or owning property. China is also in the process of drafting legislation to regulate what it calls anthropomorphic interactive AI, which includes sending mandatory notifications to users, reminding them that they're interacting with an AI system. They also mandate that AI apps must not create any hurdles for users trying to exit the interaction. In other words, prompts like, "Are you sure you want to close the chat?" would soon be made illegal in places like China. Similar laws have already passed in the state of California, with Senate Bill 243 demanding that AI platforms make it clear to users that any interactions are artificially generated, and prohibiting chatbots from representing themselves as healthcare professionals. Platforms are also required to offer break reminders to minors and prevent them from viewing sexually explicit images generated by the chatbot. But these regulations may be too little too late. Legislation alone won't change social behavior if no attempt is also made to fix in-person dating culture. If we don't actively make the choice to reject AI's intrusion into our romantic lives, the social divide between us all will simply continue to grow, with our real-life 2049 possibly turning out disturbingly close to the one K is a part of. And we all know how that ended. With that, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below and don't forget to share it. That stuff really helps me out. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that as well so you won't miss future uploads, and click the bell icon to receive all notifications. If you want to support my work even further, you can become a patron at patreon.com/OrangeRiver, link in the description, or become a YouTube member by clicking the join button on my channel page. I just want to give a quick shout out to all of my donors who allow me to bring on outside talent like editors to make more high quality content for you to enjoy. By becoming a Patreon member, you also get access to awesome perks like behind the scenes photos and videos, Patreon member only polls, naming the credits, merch discounts, and more. Or you can drop a one-time super thanks or PayPal donation, are appreciated. Links to my PayPal, as well as my social media and merch store, are in the description too. Also, just as a reminder, I do have a second channel, OrangeRiver Plus, where I've uploaded the VODs of lots of my gaming streams, with more on the way, and in addition to some other goofy one-offs and extra behind-the-scenes content, I've officially made it my second streaming platform, so be sure to subscribe there too, so you don't miss any new content. That's all I have for this week. And remember, keep your baseline within the acceptable range.
Hey you! Yes you! Sitting there watching AI-generated Star Trek slop! Listen up! I've emerged yet again from reptilian hell to deliver another very important message. OrangeRiver has launched a Kickstarter campaign for his new short film, Last Hope Rebirth. Why is it called Last Hope Rebirth? Because it's a sequel to the original award-winning short. Duh! The goal is to raise $2,000, but here's the kicker. The campaign ends August 15th at 11 a.m. Central. So just follow the Kickstarter link in the description or pinned comment and back with $2 or more to get perks. Let go of your pesky latinum and show your support before it's too late. Now until they bring me out for something else, back to reptilian hell.
Do you like merchandise? If so, head on over to the new and improved OrangeRiver merch store. That's right, OrangeRiver is now officially on Spreadshop. I've got a bunch of awesome new designs, including All the Way Down,
All the way.
Vape God, Tally, aka Best Girl.
It was totally worth it.
And what is perhaps my greatest design yet,
I love being married to my husband.
Plus, I've got some of my classic designs like OrangeRiver Arrowhead, N7, and more. And there are even some new products like OrangeRiver hats. That's right, OrangeRiver hats now exist. Visit the link in the description to get discounts and other special deals on items from my store.